to a BeerGuevara tutorial. In today's tutorial, we are going to be talking about mashing. Mashing is done in a vessel called a mash tun. Now, this vessel can be created in a number of ways, but today we are going to show you the one that we sell here at our store. What we have is a converted cooler box. The cooler box essentially has a tap on the outside, and on the inside it has a DIY filter. Now, the filter allows us to separate the wort, which is the liquid before it becomes beer, from the spent grain. Now we're going to discuss the mashing process. You will obviously need a recipe. Depending on what style of beer you want to make, we have a number of suggestions on our website. The recipe will be made up of malted barley, which will look like this. This malted barley then needs to be crushed. Crushed grain looks like that. Now, let's prepare the water. We are ready to add the water to the cooler box. The water temperature, which will be specified on the recipe, is called the strike temperature. It is slightly higher than the temperature that we want to mash at. And the reason for this is that when we add the grain to the water, the grain is cooler and will bring the temperature down. So, we open the cooler box, we put our water in there. We measure to see that that water is at the correct temperature specified in the recipe. It's always good to overshoot your targets a little bit because you can always wait for it to cool down to the desired temperature. Now we can add the grain. Slowly pour the grain into the water while stirring it with the beer paddle. Once all of the grain is in there, nicely stirred, and there's no porridge dough balls, we are ready to let the mashing process continue on its own. At this point, it's good to check that our mashing temperature is the same as the recipe specified. Now we are ready to close the cooler box to keep all of that heat inside there consistent and let the mash go through the mashing process for the next full hour. What is happening on the inside of that cooler box is there is a conversion process whereby the complex starches in the grain gets converted into fermentable sugars, which the yeast will eat at a later stage. Is up. You might be asking, what's next? The exciting part. Firstly, you need to have pre-prepared something called sparge water. We are then going to take 2 runnings out of this cooler box. The first running is all that water that has been steeping in here over the past hour. For the first running, take the pot that you're going to be boiling all the wort in and position it underneath the tap. Now take a smaller little jug and tap off 1 liter. We're going to use this 1 liter to settle the grain bed. Now open your cooler box and use a beer spoon like this and gently pour the wort over the grain bed. You can do this 2 or 3 times to settle the grain bed. Once the grain bed is settled, let the first runnings completely drain into your pot. For the second running, we're going to use our sparge water. Now remember, the sparge water needs to be at a specific temperature which is in the recipe. What we're going to do is we take the sparge water and we gently pour it over the grain bed so as not to create plunged holes into the grain bed. And once all the sparge water is in our cooler box, we can now let the second runnings drain into the same pot as the first runnings. Now that you've drained the wort into your pot. We are complete and we have finished the mashing process. We now go on to the next stage known as boiling.